With the short film I want to enter into the RSA competition, I'd like to show how flawed we are, and because of that, we are deserving of sympathy and love. And when these come together, along with humility, to listen to people we might not agree on, and respect them despite that, strong relationships can be formed. I will be telling my story with cats. These independent and elegant and composed stoic little beings, but not really. They thrive and enjoy the company of their human and animal families very much, but have wildly different ways of expressing that, very much like humans. I also wanted a simple and easy storyline that I feel people can relate to, and that came from how I'm often annoyed at people talking over me, but then I catch myself doing the exact same thing to somebody else. The overall mood of the animation is lighthearted and cutesy, and more geared towards a younger audience to not only contrast the graveness of the message, but also to show how simple it is. I feel most children have mastered these concepts, and we would do better in recognizing and learning from them. For the past few months, I have been focusing and refining my pre-production process. This at times feels like a complex procrastination technique for the actual production stage, but from previous experience, I know that I can become very easily overwhelmed when I jump into an unfamiliar software and try to play jazz with it. We're not that close yet, so running tests and figuring out what the pipeline will look like has been my priority for the past few weeks. I did cut a few little corners, however. My animatics timing is a bit too rough for my liking, and I did not make myself a tight enough color script, which brought a lot of pain and wasted time when I was agonizing about the color of this one cat's pants. Other than that, I made myself a fabulous spreadsheet on Google Sheets that is very easily accessible in all of my devices and has been incredibly helpful and comforting despite not being able to tick off all of my little tasks at the deadlines that I made for myself, which is really my own fault for overestimating the number of productive hours I have. But yeah, I'm learning. The tone of the animation has changed a little more to the kitties audience. I wanted to make it more grown up with the color relationships, but that got scrapped really quickly after the first few design boards. I also decided to put clothes on my cats because the last scene was looking a little too dull, and yeah, it was just too washed out because the cat's fur was too similar to the background, but I also wanted it to be very light and kind of cozy. I'm always amazed at how difficult dealing with color is, especially with a broader palette. I'm so much more used to limited and duller schemes, so it took me a few weeks to be happy enough with my current choices. The production plan has also changed. I have completely ditched the hand-painted bits after finally realizing I don't have 3 years to finish this. I also ditched Toon Boom, which I really wanted to become better acquainted with because of its compositing capabilities. It has a number of tools in it that work very similarly to After Effects, but alas, it was not meant to be. I haven't even been able to launch in the school's machines to this day, which is pretty tragic, and I never got used to the brushes in it, which is a very petty reason, but they still feel kind of gross, even after messing with the settings and making new ones, and yeah, it's just very uncomfortable to draw in, which ate up a lot of time. I think this was because I was a bit intimidated by After Effects, but once I made the switch, it was a lot more friendly than I had first assumed, like my cats. And after a few tests, I was able to come up with a process that I'm pleased enough with, and yeah, it's been smooth sailing since then. And oh my goodness, the graph editor. I have no words to express my gratitude for it. It just makes my severely poorly timed shots look so much better. It's like magic. This new order of business was heavily inspired by Un Diable dans la Poche and the style of Mathilde Loub, and shamelessly ripped off the CalArts short film A Warm Welcome presentation, although in the end I tried to push for a more cheap vintage magazine or comic book kind of look, making it a little bit more particular to my own sensibilities. It's a bit laborious, and as I get comfortable with After Effects, I have been improving and optimizing aspects of it. But for this particular scene, I drew the panel layout in Procreate and traced it with the pen tool in After Effects, making a number of separate shape layers. Then a multiply shadow shape layer was added along with roughen edges for a little bit of grit. Then I added a chalky edge by duplicating the pre-comp shape layers, adding a directional blur, a simple choker, a roughen edges once again. Then finally I placed a colored looping texture to the background, slapped some noise on top of everything for an old sugar paper kind of look, along with a looping black paper texture that is set to screen. It's a bit of a complex and render heavy lasagna of effects, but I made myself a Google Docs protocol dictating the order and intensity of the effects to maintain cohesiveness and save time when toggling all of the little numerical values. And I actually find it quite meditative once you get into the flow of things. It'll definitely be a nice break while agonizing about my thesis in the next few weeks. This short film has been a lovely break from the final year project, which I have come to realize I'm taking far too seriously, to the point it's gripping. It's almost like it's game over once college is done. I'll just drop dead after submission or something, which is a completely unfounded fear, and thanks to the RSA, I can procrastinate dealing with it a tiny bit more. At least now I know that hand painting frames is a preposterous idea. But on a positive note, I have also become much more familiar with After Effects, and that is most likely going to be my software of choice once Doomsday comes around. I also think this project has helped me become a little more pragmatic about how I learn new techniques and apply them to the pipeline. I often felt very guilty for not being in the same stage as my fellow classmates, but now that pre-production is almost finished, I know that I will be able to finish this and enter the competition, because all of the hard thinking bits will already be done for me, and all that will be left is very simple repetitive work, and I'm quite proud of it. I think I've achieved a lot so far. It looks pretty nice, and I feel like I can almost start calling myself an animator. So yeah, pat on the back. For my next steps, I will be finishing my layouts, then adding the color of the cat's clothes to the design board, so I can get a better idea of how the color and mood will progress throughout the film, and then it'll be production time, finally! My sad little home laptop is able to cope with making shape layers, so I will be making all of these assets at home, and then adding the final touches in compositing once school reopens on the 10th, and it'll be all finished. Hooray! So that's all I have for now, and I hope you have a peaceful time in your well-deserved holidays, and that you get to eat lots of yummy foodies, and yeah, I'll see you in the new year. Bye bye!